Hi everyone, Joshua Kirk here with you once again, and now it's time for episode 282 of Album of the Day, in which for today's episode I'm going to be talking about an Indiana rapper who's been around for at least a decade at this point and has become one of the most beloved figures in hip-hop in the last few years. I am, of course, talking about the rapper known as Freddie Gibbs, who is pretty notorious for putting together two critically acclaimed albums produced by the one and only Madlib, Pinata and Bandana. Pinata, in my opinion, is definitely one of the best hip-hop records of the last decade. So when I do my favorite albums of the 2010s, expect that record to be up kind of high on there. And he's also done plenty of albums under his own name that kind of tend to lean more on modern hip-hop and even trap. Like his 2018 Freddie album was produced mostly by Kenny Beats, who is one of the hottest producers in hip-hop right now. And now I'm here to review his latest album, produced by another notable hip-hop producer, the Alchemist, which was released, I believe, on May 29th of 2020, and the album is called Alfredo. Now, Freddie has worked with the Alchemist before. There was that Freddie project, which was him and Currency, and that was produced by The Alchemist. I haven't really heard that album. But as I said, love both his projects with Madlib, Pinata, even Pinata especially, and also the Freddie album does have some bangers on it as well. This album sort of came out of nowhere, and I definitely knew it was likely going to be pretty good, considering Freddie does have is pretty consistent in terms of the quality of his albums. I mean, really never has he really dropped a garbage verse necessarily. And upon listening to this, I am very pleased to say that Alfredo is definitely one of Freddie's best albums. Dare I say it? It may be up there with Pinata for some of his best albums. Because I love Bandana, certainly one of my favorite rap records of 2019. However, I felt like it wasn't exactly on the same level as Pinata, and it had definitely a few more underwhelming tracks on it in comparison. This album, though, has barely a weak moment on it, honestly. Really the closest I can think to somewhat weak moments on the record are the track Look at Me, it's kind of bland production, as well as Freddie's sort of underdeveloped verse kind of left me really wanting more in the end. And also the closer, All Glass. Though I think Freddie's rapping and bars on that track are incredible. The line of Yeezy's on, but I ain't seen no Sunday service is he definitely is spitting on there. But the beat, the gospel organ sort of felt a little bit cliched and cheesy a little bit, and kind of made the sort of what sounds like, kind of a state song about Freddie sort of trying to come to terms with his faith seem a little bit kind of like a pastiche. But the rest of the album, though, is fantastic. The opening track, 1985, features some incredible bluesy guitar lines, glittery electric pianos, a very smooth beat, and Freddie just sounds so comfortable, with his rapping on here, and, with who he is. I mean, this is one of those tracks, and frankly, one of those albums where I may not know exactly what the song is about, but I don't need to, because I don't feel like I need to, because, it's a classic hip-hop, pretty much not trying to be reinvented in any way, but just sort of done right. The next song, God is Perfect, features some jazzy pianos. Definitely a slightly snazzier beat to it. It sort of sounds like a kind of gangster rap take on like ele- on like jazz on like elevator jazz or something like that. And Freddie's verses are just incredible. I love the way in which he switches up his flow in certain parts of the song. He'll be doing this kind of fast rapping. Then other points he'll be just very smooth, like, and whatever flow he's working with on here, it just suits the beat so incredibly well. And obviously, I enjoyed some of his bars on here, and this song may have my favorite hook on the entire record. The hook is just so infectious and incredibly catchy, and I don't mind that majority of the lyrics are that hook, because it is just so, yeah, it's such a cool little earworm on the record. The next song, Scottie Beam, is this very mellow, kind of psychedelic bit of jazz rap with with the pianos being very shiny. I believe there's maybe some vibraphone I'm hearing in that beat as well. The kind of psychedelic guitar lines near the end of the song, as well as the kind of woozy, sort of dreamy background vocals. It's definitely one of the most vibrant instrumentals on this album. And the fact that he opens the song with the revolution is the genocide, your execution will be televised, is like the fact that this was released kind of on the heels of George Floyd's murder, along with the surge in Black Lives Matter protests. He released this at just the right time, which is kind of the case for two other favorite rap releases from this time, which were obviously Run the Jewels 4, as well as Shrines, the new Arm & Hammer record, which has definitely the most sort of, I guess, representative album cover of 2020. So 2020, and Freddie's bars on here, like the line about castrating people and their feelings on IG, is also a pretty clever line. And Rick Ross delivers one of his best verses yet. He is really talking about kind of his fame and sort of where it leaves him now. The song is kind of a track that kind of sees both rappers kind of looking at their fame and sort of, how it shapes who they are to this day. And it seems to have shaped them, who they are in the best ways, even. Even Frank Lucas is this very kind of dark, chilling piece of crime rap. The beat, the kind of woozy synths, that sort of nimble bass line, and the very tense piano. It really sounds like it should be the soundtrack to a modern era blaxploitation movie or something. Exploitation movie or something like that. And also Freddie definitely delivers memorable bars, like the line of since gangsta get the line about how they're gonna put him in the nominees, sort of shows how braggadocious this song is. The lyrics, for the most part, though, are kind of chilling in their descriptions of police brutality, as well as sort of how living as a black man, you are going to, so you are sort of prone to seeing violence all the time, and how it kind of sort of affects you. Benny the Butcher comes through with a pretty phenomenal feature as well. And I think the beat very much complements the sort of intensity and kind of harrowing lyrics, I think, pretty well. And Benny on top of it just sounds sounds so braggy, but also kind of demented on top of this beat. but this beat. But really, the true highlight for me on this album is Something to Rap About, featuring Tyler the Creator. Freddie delivers one of his best verses yet on this song. It definitely is up there in some of his career-defining moments. Also, just that beat, the guitars, the drums, the piano, and the piano and those strings that come in certain parts of the song is just like, it all sounds so lovely and just so smooth over top of Freddie's verse. And then we get a very interesting key change, which I think fits really well with Tyler the Creator's awesome feature, which, he's had a few pretty cool features in the last couple of years, but this one, it may very well be his best feature yet. Be his best feature yet. I mean, every single bar that comes out of his mouth, just like, it sounds so effortless, and he sounds like just so comfortable on this track, and it's very interesting how on the verse he is sort of kind of talking about how he's changed a lot, but he has changed a lot, like how he used to be kind of a loudmouth, but now he's sort of become a much more mature and kind of more understanding kind of human being. And I've heard some people say that like him rapping on top of this jazzy instrumental does, however, kind of harken back to like his early days when he was that hip hop class clown. It's just like, Freddie and Tyler was a combo I didn't know I needed until I heard them both on this song. And dare I say it, like, I would like to see these two maybe sort of an EP or something together, because I could totally go for more of these kind of crossovers for sure. The song Baby Shit is a much more woozy, kind of low-key cut. The beat is very psychedelic, and, it kind of sounds like, I don't know, like synth, or maybe even like Mellotron, sort of, wheezing with a little bit of reverb on them, very interesting sound. And Freddie on top of it does an amazing job, adapting his flow to the beat, even as he kind of switches his flow throughout the song, making the track very catchy and very easy to hang on to every single word. And I do like how this whole baby shit thing is kind of used as a metaphor for besides having all this money, he's sort of trying to clear up whatever relationships have sort of shaped who he is. And if he's sort of talking about how relationships have kind of taught him plenty of lessons. If you look back on Bandana, there were certainly a fair amount of tracks where it seemed like he was sort of recuperating from a breakup. Like the song Practice is definitely a kind of melancholy jazz rap song about sort of, love he's lost. The song Babies and Fools also has one of my favorite instrumentals on the record. It's certainly a kind of snazzy, another incredibly snazzy lounge jazz instrumental. And Freddie sort of, in each and every verse he delivers on this song, he sort of dedicates it to a particular situation. It would be like his relationship with his mother, relationship with, women whom, he was in a romantic relationship with, and then also kind of what fame has done for him. And Conway the Machine, complements that sort of delivery very well. He does a similar thing on his verses and referencing things like his older son failing math and how he sort of owes his kids, like he feels like he owes his kids something more than what they're getting. What they're getting, and I also love the very creative way in which the sample of all I need, like is sort of finishing each and every verse and kind of intertwining them. Like it sort of shows that like even samples can create messages and lyrics. These songs, Skinny Suge, like I don't really know how to say it, but know if I'm saying that right, but I think this song is definitely a very nice sort of exhale on the record. I love how this record is kind of a mellow, kind of a relatively mellow album. It's a kind of, it's the kind of relaxed jazz rap album that, like, if I'm feeling any sort of stress from the day, like, I can put this album on and it'll just kind of slow my blood a little bit. Like, a little bit. Songs like this, I think, are a perfect example of this. Like, it makes me want to chill, but it doesn't, like, put me to sleep or anything. Like, music in this vein tends to do to me sometimes. Like, anyway, really like this song a lot. The very smooth, nimble guitar lines over the kind of over the kind of woozy and somewhat kind of kind of sluggish synth lines. And also it would only make sense that with Freddie's delivery, he just sounds like so in his element. Like, he sounds kind of like for a moment that he doesn't have really a care in the world. And of course, it all ends with All Glass, which I already highlighted, along with Look at Me, are the two kind of semi-duds in this album. And also the record, to intertwine everything together, we also get these little, like, what sounds like samples from classic crime or, like, classic, like, crime drama movies, and it's interesting how they sort of intertwine the record and sort of give listeners a sneak peek to, like, the themes about to come up, like that little transition from Look at Me into Frank Lucas, the thing about, gotta be careful when talking about blood and shit in this community. It might just spill over you. And then it goes right into that instrumental, like, it couldn't make more sense. And also, the way we get the beginning of that jazz sample that goes into something to rap about is also pretty cool transition as well. It's kind of interesting how these monologues actually, they don't sort of make the album lose focus. They actually tie into everything very well. Even if there are maybe a few kind of sampled interludes, I could do without. But that little instrumental breakdown at the end of God is Perfect, I think, is a pretty interesting kind of subversive moment. And the way that it flows into Scottie Beam is pretty cool as well. So yeah, I really dug this record. I definitely think it's one of Freddie's stronger releases for sure. So for sure, for those of you who enjoyed Pinata and maybe kind of, sort of feel like he's kind of fallen off since then, this album, I think, is a great way to sort of get back into his stuff again, because, he's proving that he's still relevant as one of hip-hop's most gifted poets and, like, lyricists, and how the man can flow. Like, few rappers today can really top him in terms of his flow. And also, this is a perfect kind of little sort of simplified version of what he does so well. Like, it's short, it's to the point, it doesn't overstay its welcome. It's just a very solid hip-hop album. So definitely a strong 8 out of 10 for me. I may have placed it at number 28 on my year-end list, but I think this record ranks a little higher for me now. And that's kind of the truth with some of these albums from 2020. Like, they, a lot of these records are so great that really I don't care, how the ranking changes as time goes on. Like, I'm still going to think they're great albums no matter what. Anyway, that's my review of Alfredo, the new Freddie Gibbs album produced by The Alchemist, and I'll see you for episode 283.